Hey guys, this is Matt Wilson here with my last video of the 2024 year. It's going to be on the career of Eric Clapton in the 60s and the 70s. Actually, I'll take it through just one night in 1980. All right, I got a lot to show you. It's going to be one of my longer videos. I haven't done one in a while, so a couple of weeks. A lengthy one anyway, so let's start. Okay, I want to go through this really fast because I already did these two discs. I already did my Yardbirds show a while back. This is 5 Live Yardbirds. It is 1964. This is For Your Love, the half Clapton, half Jeff Beck American compilation. These are the two major Yardbirds LPs that Eric Clapton played on. This is, I said in my video, the best British Invasion Band live album, containing my favorite version of Howlin' Wolf's Smokestack Lightning. The sound quality is just and Eric does not take a whole lot of solos, so keep in mind he's just a kid. For Your Love is the song that he left the Yardbirds for. I think it was too pop-oriented. He only plays a little, smattering of guitar in the chorus or middle eight. No, I think it's the chorus. It's a harpsichord playing the main riff. Half the tracks are Eric's, half the tracks are Jeff Beck's. I think this album is underrated. Okay, moving on. He leaves the Yardbirds for bluer pastures with John Mayall's Blues Breakers. This is the the Blues Breakers with Eric Clapton album. This is the old Mobile Fidelity stereo mix. Here is the Kevin Gray, I get that glare off there, mono mix. Steve Hoppin didn't do this. This is Audio Fidelity. This is in the minds of many the first classic Eric Clapton album. It's mostly like blues songs and John Mayall originals. Clapton takes the vocal on Ramblin' on My Mind, the Robert Johnson tune. He does Steppin' Out here, which I forget who wrote that. But anyways, when I did my Deep Purple video, the song Lazy on the Machine Head album, I couldn't remember the Cream song where the Purple song cops the riff from. It's this one, Steppin' Out. All right, so love this record. One of the highlights guitar-wise of 1966. Ugh, get that clear. All right, don't really have a preference about mono or stereo. I like them both. Usually I am a mono guy, I will tell you guys that, but not so much with that album. Okay, so Eric leaves Mayall. I'll do a Mayall video too, because John had a really fantastic career there in the 60s and very early 70s. He does the What's Shakin' album with his little, I want to call it a band, Powerhouse, but it's the band was put together, I think, by Manfred Mann's Paul Jones. You'd have to look up how he did that. And, Ginger Baker was offered the drum slot, but he couldn't take it for some reason. But Steve Winwood is playing with Eric on these cuts, and there's 3 of them. This is not the original 1966 LP cover on this CD, although I'm pretty sure you can buy the CD with the original cover. I should have brought this out when I did my 11 Spoonful show, but I forgot about it, quite frankly. But today, when I was thinking about everything that I have that Eric Clapton plays on in the 60s and 70s, this came to mind. The tracks that the Eric Clapton and the Powerhouse play on are it's 3 of them. Steppin' Out again after he did it with Mayall. I Want to Know and Crossroads. Crossroads, of course, before Cream did it, another Robert Johnson number. I can't say that the album is great, but it's interesting. And if you want, all the stuff that Eric played on and released in the 60s, you have to have it. There's more Mayall, too, that Eric played on and released that wasn't on the Blues Breakers album, like I'm Your Witch Doctor, which is a fabulous 45. I think Jimmy Page produced that, so you got to get that one elsewhere, too. Okay. Moving on, before 1966 ended, he forms Cream with Ginger Baker, Jack Bruce, both of whom were in the Graham Bond organization. Didn't get along then, didn't get along when they were in Cream. Eric was always the middleman with these two guys. This is the old DCC Steve Hoffman disc, which is stereo. The mono version of I'm So Glad is on here. And Spoonful Wrapping Paper and the Coffee Song are bonus tracks. This is another classic album. Maybe not quite as immediate as the Blues Breakers record, but Cream is my favorite band that Clapton probably ever played with, even more than Derek and the Dominoes, even though I'll tell you later on that Layla is my favorite album that Eric Clapton ever played on. Cream is my favorite band that he ever played with. How is that possible? Because I like the best Cream songs better than the best Derek and the Dominoes songs. But Cream, to my ears, never made an album as good as Layla. We'll get to that in a second. Love Fresh Cream. It is like a bridge between, blues and psychedelia, but not so much on this album. Heavy rock, proto-metal, unless you're of the, opinion that real metal does not have blues licks in it, like, the Black Sabbath kind of metal. Well, certainly. So if not metal, then, a real bridge to hard rock of the 70s, of the Led Zeppelin variety, because Zeppelin certainly was blues-based. I'm going to do a Zeppelin video real soon, guys. Okay, so Fresh Cream. I do recommend that, but I'll tell you what's even better than that DCC is this. The Fresh Cream box set. This, folks, get that glare out of there. This, folks, is all you need if you love this album, as I always have. It's 4 CDs. I doubt you can read that. Anyways, you get the stereo mix, you get the mono mix, you get the French EP mix, which wasn't the whole album. It just had some of the songs, but they're different versions. You get BBC sessions. There's a Blu-ray, which has the American versions of the album. Mono and stereo for the American mix. US stereo, US mono. Wow. So everything that you could possibly want is on here. As I look at this cover, I'm reminded, I've always thought that the World War I, kind of pilot gear, the flying ace type stuff they're wearing reminds me of Led Zeppelin 2, the 1969 Led Zeppelin album. This is 66. That Zeppelin album has an actual photograph of World War I pilots, but then the faces of Led Zeppelin superimposed over on the photograph. And also another thing that reminds me of a parallel between those two albums, Toad, Ginger Baker, his drum solo track with the guitar riff in the beginning and the end. Led Zeppelin all but just copied that from Moby Dick, just coming up with another, guitar lick and a different drum solo, of course. Anyways, Fresh Cream, I love it. I like this box set. All right. Moving on to my favorite Cream album and my favorite album that Eric Clapton played on in the 1960s, Disraeli Gears. Here is the trusty Mobile Fidelity version I've had all these years, stereo and mono. Again, I don't really have a choice. Same with Fresh Cream might be a tad bit better in mono. Hard to say. I like both of these versions. Both of these mixes, rather. Let's cover some songs here. Strange Brew, Sunshine on Your Love, classic. Tales of Brave Ulysses, classic. Swobbler, or Slobber, I've heard it pronounced, classic. Some great deep cuts in World of Pain, Dance the Night Away, and We're Going Wrong. Outside Woman Blues is a good, cover version. It's a great album, folks. This is the deluxe edition, 2 CDs. Much like the Fresh Cream box, you get the stereo, you get the mono, just like the Mo Fidelity. You also get BBC sessions, outtakes in the stereo, and outtakes in mono. Wow. So again, what do you want? It's got everything, these things. Okay. 1968, Wheels of Fire, double LP, half studio, half live. I guess I should be comparing these guys to the Jimi Hendrix Experience by this point. Cream, of course, preceded the Experience by just a bit. In 1966, by the end of the year, Fresh Cream was out, and the Hendrix Experience had only produced the Hey Joe 45. So Hendrix, a little, kind of wasn't as quick to record an album as Cream. He must have, when he got to England in 66 and hooked up with Chas Chandler, they must have had Cream in mind when they were going to form a power trio, or not. I mean, it's been a while since I've read a book on Jimmy, but they had to have been aware of Cream. Anyways, I love Wheels of Fire. This Steve Hoffman DCC disc has, I think, my entire life been the only way I've ever, I don't think I never owned this album on vinyl growing up. So whenever this came out, early 90s, I guess, that's when I bought it, and I've never owned another version. There's so many great songs on here. Let's just say I like everything. This particular little set here does have a longer version of Passing the Time than the one that was on the original LP. It also has Anyone for Tennis, which is a great song, which wasn't on the original album. That is a song from the biker picture, The Savage Seven, which I'm a big biker nut, so I've got that movie on DVD. The live stuff on here, which it took a while to grow on me, was very influential. Now, there's only a few cuts, the second half. Crossroads, of course, was the hit, another Robert Johnson tune. The versions of Toad and Spoonful do go on a bit. They're not my favorite versions of those two songs, but they're still great. And then Train Time. Train Time is my least favorite song on the album. It was a song that Jack and Ginger had done on one of those Graham Bond Organization albums. I actually like it better on that studio version than the one that's on here. I'm just not crazy about Jack Bruce's harmonica playing, but it's just still a classic album. Wheels of Fire. And then as quickly as it began, I think, 2 years later, they're breaking up. Goodbye didn't come out till 1969. This is the Mobile Fidelity version. Mo-Fi did all these classic Clapton albums a long time ago, and that's how I heard most of them, actually. This is another one that's kind of like Wheels of Fire, which half live, half studio. Badge, we'll talk about the studio tracks. Badge is the song you've heard on the radio your whole life. He co-wrote that. Eric co-wrote that with Clapton, with George Harrison. Doing That Scrapyard Thing is a pretty good Jack Bruce and Pete Brown song. Pete Brown was his songwriting partner. And What a Bring Down is the Ginger Baker cut. I like that song. It might be my favorite Ginger Baker. Well, no, he did some good stuff on Wheels of Fire too. Anyways, on the live stuff is typically good. Cream. If you're having a hard time getting into live Cream, try not to just focus on, like Clapton's guitar playing. Listen to the whole track and listen to what Jack Bruce is doing on his bass. Listen to the whole track and listen to what Ginger Baker's doing. Ginger Baker's one of my favorite drummers. I like him as much as I like John Bonham, who seems to be the consensus favorite of most rock fans as the greatest drummer. But my favorite rock drummer is Keith Moon. I've always said that. Anyways, another really good album. Took a longer for this to grow on me, and it does have a thrown together aspect to it, but it's I still love it. Right after Cream's demise, Eric and Ginger weaseled his way in. They formed Blind Faith. Again, this is the old Mo Fidelity. It's the only version of this album I've ever owned. Steve Winwood is back, from the Powerhouse, and Rick Gretsch from Family. This is another great album, folks. It's not that different from Cream. Eric was tired of being the guitar hero. He always had that kind of Bob Dylan aspect to him where he didn't want to do what was expected of him. I think the story goes he heard the band's music from Big Pink and he decided he wanted to play that kind of music. And he also read a negative review of Cream concert in Rolling Stone, and he said, "Oh my God, this writer is right on the money, and I am a parody or whatever of myself," and whatever the article said. I read it a long time ago. Anyways, thing is, he starts Blind Faith, and he's still the guitar hero. He's still taking lots of long solos, so that doesn't end right away. All right. Anyways, this album is practically as good as any Cream album. I'm not going to say it's as good as Disraeli Gears, but I probably played this as much in my life as I've played Wheels of Fire. So I love it. Before the year is over, he hooks up with John Lennon for the Live Peace in Toronto 1969 album. He knew Lennon. I mean, he knew George Harrison better. They were very good friends. But Lennon was going to Canada. I was going to fly over there and do this kind of rock and roll festival, like a 50s kind of rock and roll festival. Although the Doors were there as well with some 50s guys. And he asked Eric to go with him because, Eric had played on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, the George Harrison cut on the Beatles' White Album. So Eric said sure, and they practiced on the plane going over. And the set's pretty good. Side one is Blue Suede Shoes, Money, Dizzy Miss Lizzie, Your Blues, Cold Turkey, and Give Peace a Chance. All of them performed well. And side two brings on Yoko and the Screeching, and that's where you lose most of the fans who don't like Yoko anyway. That cut is called Don't Worry, Kyoko. But I do recommend the album. Okay, before we leave Cream aside, Mo Fidelity did this nifty little box set of the two Live Cream albums, Live Cream and Live Cream Volume 2. We'll go over that really quickly, as again, I like them. This was the cover of Live Cream. This was the cover of Live Cream Volume 2. Live Cream is mostly fresh cream cuts. NSU, CP Time, Sweet Wine, and Rollin' and Tumblin'. And then they put a short little version of Lawdy Mama, which is it's another song with just different lyrics. And then Live Cream Volume 2, which is kind of the later two albums. Deserted Cities of the Heart, White Room, Politician, Tales of Brave Ulysses, Sunshine of Your Love, and then a really long version of Steppin' Out, 13 and a half minutes. So Cream did Steppin' Out, John Mayall and the Blues Breakers did Steppin' Out, and the Powerhouse did Steppin' Out. All right, so there you go, folks. I like everything that I've shown you so far. There hasn't been one mediocre record, I don't think, anyway. Okay, 1970. All right, the first thing I think I want to talk about is the Delaney and Bonnie album, On Tour. I've got the CD. I couldn't find it, but that's okay. What I got is this out-of-print deluxe edition of On Tour. This is not what the album, the LP cover looked like. It was a picture of a car, black and white picture of a car. But this is a cool little set. Delaney and Bonnie were like the kind of Americana roots music, kind of similar to the band that Eric was attracted to at that time. So he had a good time playing with these guys, and George Harrison also played with them. Some of these musicians, he took with him when he made his first solo album, and Derek and the Dominoes. It's 4 CDs. December 7th, second show. December 2nd. Oh, so I guess I'm going backwards here. And December 1st, all 1969. The album, I think, was released in 1970. Not much in the ways of photographs or anything. That's the only booklet that comes with it, all handwritten stuff, and then little black and white pictures. But it is out of print, though, so unless you're really a fan of that album, I'm not going to recommend it to you. I get these things a long time ago before they go for stupid money online. anyways, so he plays briefly with them, takes some of those musicians, makes his first solo album. Eric Clapton, again, see, Mo Fidelity. All these early Clapton albums are kind of special in that way because they've all got audiophile discs for me. That's why I've had them for a long time now. This is one of his better albums, actually. It's not a classic, like a classic Cream album or, you know, or Layla or anything, but it's pretty good. Slunky is an instrumental. I'll just go over the songs that I like. After Midnight, you've heard that on the radio your whole life. Let It Rain, you've heard that your whole life. Easy Now is pretty good. Blues Power is really good. So I do like it. But it's funny because it's an Eric Clapton record. The way that he would make them 4 years later after his heroin bout, you know, which I'll get to when we get to 461 Ocean Boulevard. But he's not so much the guitar hero on this album, although he's still Eric Clapton. He still takes extended solos. It's not as mellow as 461 Ocean Boulevard, but it's, you know, again, he's not wanting to rock out the way he did with Cream or Blind Faith, or even Derek and the Dominoes, which he would do after this. Here is a deluxe edition, 2-disc set, the same way I had the 2-disc set of Disraeli Gears. You get different mixes, the released mix and the unreleased original mix, and then some additional material. There's even a whole box set that I didn't bother purchasing for this record. Oh, you know what, guys? I thought I was gonna have left Cream behind, but I forgot to mention this. This is really good. This is a goodbye box set of 4 complete shows that were recorded in 1968. Let's see. 3 of them are in October. 1 of them is November of 68. Oakland Coliseum, Los Angeles Forum, San Diego Sports Arena, and Royal Albert Hall. This is really good stuff. I like this stuff better than the live stuff that's on Wheels of Fire. All right? So when I did my Hendrix video, I had a similar box that wasn't shaped like this of the Band of Gypsies shows, you know, like live at Fillmore East. And, you know, the shows recorded for the Band of Gypsies album. I like this just as much. All right? So, Cream. This is the last Cream thing I'll show you. Okay. Okay, so, Layla. Here's the old Mo-Fi of Layla. Derek and the Dominoes. He like I said, he's working with these American musicians that he took from Delaney. Used some of them on it. Well, I think a lot of them on his first album, and now he's making what I'm gonna say is my favorite Eric Clapton record ever. It's pretty much my favorite album of 1970. He's got Duane Allman on here, who was not really part of the band, but he was there for the sessions, and he plays on everything except for the first 3 tracks, I think. I Looked Away, Bell Bottom Blues, and Keep On Growing. Everything else has Duane on it. Of course, it has the immortal title track. It's got Why Does It Have to Be So Sad, which I used to hear on the radio. I Am Yours, Any Day, Key to the High. I mean, it's all good. It's all good. Somewhere I've got the big anniversary box set, which is a remix, but I actually like the original mix the best. And the SACD, which this is probably the best sounding version that I have. This is also Mobile Fidelity. That's just the sticker which came on there. So got them both, old gold disc, SACD, my favorite thing that Clapton ever did. In 1973, this In Concert album came out. See, again, Mobile Fidelity. That's why I have these, guys. This is a really good album, too. I don't think it really gets the props that it needs. To me, this is as good as those 2 live Cream albums. It starts off with, this is a double album, starts off with a great version of Why Does Love Got to Be So Sad, Got to Get Better in a Little While, which is one of those tunes that they did before they did the album, and it wasn't on the Layla album. Is this one of those ones that Phil Spector produced? I don't remember. Let It Rain from the first solo LP. Presence of the Lord from the Blind Faith album. Tell the Truth. Bottle of Red Wine, also I think from the solo album. Roll It Over. I'm almost positive that was a Phil Spector produced song initially. Blues Power from the first album, and Have You Ever Loved a Woman? So it's not just Derek and the Dominoes stuff from Layla. In fact, not that much of it. Really good record. Highly recommend it. So what he had done was, you know, guys, this is a well-known story, so I won't spend too much time on it. He decides he's in love with George Harrison's wife, his best friend at the time, Patty Boyd, and propositions her, says, you know, run off with me. I think you're bored with George, which she was, if you read her book. But she does not choose to do that. So Eric takes Patty's sister. They run off together and become junkies. How you like that? That's why he doesn't do any material in 71, 72. In 73, Pete Townsend organized this Rainbow concert for him, which was like Clapton's, you know, debutante ball, you know, coming back, his stepping out, hey, I'm back kind of show. That's an album too, I just don't have it. He was still kind of wasted though, but by 74, he was ready. He had finally kicked the habit, and he was ready. Patty's sister didn't kick it though. She remained unhealthy until she died later on, but that's a sad story. Anyways, he comes back in 1974 with, here's the Mo-Fi version of 461 Ocean Boulevard. All right, this is also one of his big, you know, solo albums. Some would say it's his best. He does a good version of Motherless Children. Willie and the Hand Jive is okay. I Shot the Sheriff, of course, is the Bob Marley tune that went to #1. I'm sure that's, if you're honest with yourself, that's the first time you ever heard it, unless you were hip to Bob Marley in pre-1974. Let It Grow, Steady Rolling Man, Mainland 4. The whole thing is pretty good, but he's not playing with the fire and the verve that he used to. This is the Clapton you would have to get used to, you know, if you're going to be a fan of Eric at this point from now on. He can still rip it up live. He was still a great guitar player in a live setting, but he, again, it's that Dylan thing where he doesn't want to do what he thinks you want him to do, which is be the fiery guitar god he was in the 60s. If you like that album, I recommend this. This is the Give Me Strength, the 74, 75 recordings. You get surround sound mixes of 461 Ocean Boulevard. And there's one in every crowd, which since I don't have a CD of that, well, it's in here. I'm just going to show you what it looks like. It's got the dog on the cover. I don't think it's as successful as 461 Ocean Boulevard, but nonetheless, this was Eric's 1975 album. All right. There's still some decent stuff on here. Gosh, I still got the wrong page. Wait a minute. Well, Better Make It Through Today is on here. Yeah, Speaking of Sweet Cherry, it's not that good. Don't Blame Me. I do that with George Terry. He does The Sky's Crying, you know, the Elmore James song, but not as well as Stevie Ray Vaughan did it. Oh, did I say Better Make It Through Tonight? Better Make It Through Today. It's funny because my Mo-Fi version of 461 Ocean Boulevard also has that song, but it originally appeared on There's One in Every Crowd. But I'll tell you though, better than that is the expanded version of EC Was Here. Now, EC Was Here in its original, 1975 mix, was a single album, but it's a double album here. It's 2 CDs, and it's killer. You don't get a surround sound mix like you do with the 2 studio albums for that record, but as an expanded live Clapton album, it's the best live solo Clapton in the 70s, right? That album should have been released. This double LP version of it should have been released in the 70s. It's twice as good as the regular version. And if that's not enough to satisfy you, for live Clapton at this time, there's Crossroads 2, which is only his live work in the 70s. What is this, 4? Yep. 4 discs. Not as well known as Crossroads, which I'll get to when I end this video, but I like it. It's all live, and it's, again, he can still turn up the heat in concert. And this, with the expanded version of EC Was Here, will show you what he was capable of as a solo act, you know, in a live setting in the 70s. All right, so I do recommend it. Okay. Oh, No Reason to Cry, 1976. Look, folks, just a normal CD. MoFi never did this album. I'll tell you why. It's not that good. This is my least favorite Eric Clapton solo record of the 70s. It's not terrible. Sign Language. Hello, Old Friend. That was the hit. He does, you know, his version of Double Trouble. He's got Dylan on here, and it's just, he's just kind of coasting. You know, he's already come back, shown that he's popular, he can sell records, and it's just contractual time. It's time for him to make a record in 1976. Can't say it's all that good, No Reason to Cry, but of course it's listenable. Much better is 1977's Slowhand. This is another one of the great solo Clapton albums. This is the Mo Fidelity version. All right, this is the one that has all the songs that you know. Cocaine, you know, the J.J. Cale too. Wonderful Tonight, which he wrote about Patty. Yes, he's with Patty by this point. She did leave George. Lay Down, Sally. You heard that on the radio your whole life. Next Time You See Her is pretty good. The Core is the long song on here that I like. May You Never is pretty good. So, of the 70s solo records, I'm going to say the 3 that I recommend to you are Eric Clapton from 1970, 461 Ocean Boulevard from 74, and this one from 77. All right? They're not classics the way that, to me anyway, that Cream and, you know, well, the stuff from the 60s is, but it's good. It's good. Okay, time we got 32. I'm going to finish this in pretty good time. Backless, 1978, kind of an, you know, a sequel record, another MoFi CD to Slowhand. Not quite as interesting, but still, you know, this is the, you see him on the cover, you know, kind of, I don't know, dressed like a country guy or something with his beard and looking every bit like the 70s English gentleman. Walk Out in the Rain's pretty good. Promises was the big hit. Tulsa Time is really good. Just not as interesting, I think, as Slowhand, but this is to Slowhand what There's One in Every Crowd is to 461 Ocean Boulevard. I think they're just kind of like inferior follow-ups, but that's, some people like them. All right? Okay, so nothing, I don't believe anyway, in 79. Here is Just One Night, another MoFi CD. This is a good live album. I forgot about, was this recorded in 79 or 80? I don't remember. This is also some of my favorite solo live Clapton. These songs are all good. Tulsa Time, Early in the Morning, Lay Down Sally, Wonderful Tonight, If I Don't Be There by Morning, Worried Life Blues, All Our Past Times. After Midnight, that's the first disc. Double Trouble, Setting Me Up, Blues Power, Rounding on My Mind, Cocaine, Further Off the Road. The live version of Cocaine, that's the one you heard on the radio a lot. You also heard the studio version. And then Tulsa Time was also a hit. So this is good too. All right. I'm not going to keep continuing because don't even have Another Night. He did. That's from '81. He did have some decent records. I like Money and Cigarettes in '83. I like Journeyman and was it '89. A big deal for me at the time was Crossroads when this came out. This was the, this is '85. I want to say 85, '86. Well, we'll just say it's the mid '80s. Nah, Biograph was '85, so this is not 80. This is not '85 or '86. Could be like '87. Well, anyways, it's too dark in here for me to see. But if you can see this, this is I don't know, four CDs. This takes you from the Yardbirds through John Mayall, Cream, Blind Faith, Delaney and Bonnie and Friends, Derek and Dominoes, and then tons of just Eric Clapton stuff. If you want a one-stop purchase for the music that I covered in this video, this is pretty good. He was kind of being deified at the time, even though he hadn't. It's funny because his records in the mid '80s were just kind of average, But he was a survivor, and he was still selling records, working with Phil Collins. I got this is the original copy that I got back when it came out. My girlfriend got me this, who later became my wife. So this and Crossroads 2. And so I think that's it. I'm looking around. I think I covered everything. So Eric Clapton, some parting words on Eric Clapton. It is fashionable to put him down and say he's overrated. I think when people say that, though, they're thinking about his solo stuff from the 70s, how he has this tremendous reputation as being one of the all-time greats, but when you buy those solo Eric Clapton records, he's not ripping it up to the extent that people wish that he was. You have to go to his 60s stuff through 1970 for that. All right, so I have clearly shown you on here on this video which of his albums I think are great, which ones are just okay. I want to say I've shown you everything. I can't think of anything that I've forgot. Well, the Rainbow Concert, I don't have that. He was the first great guitar player with the Yardbirds, although he wasn't the first Yardbirds guitar player. It was a guy named Anthony Topham. He's certainly, made more money than Jeff Beck. I think he's got more money than Jimmy Page, too. But, few people that I know, anyway, put him on the same level as a Jimmy Page or as a Jeff Beck. I do, and I'll tell you why. I think you can make a case for him being second on LP, second only to Jimi Hendrix for the years, like, say, 66 through 1970. Clearly, when Hendrix did Are You Experienced in 1967, that's a better album and a more important album in the development of rock and roll or rock music than Disraeli Gears. In 1968, clearly, Electric Ladyland, Ditto, is a more important album than Wheels of Fire. But that's it. Those are the only 2 years where Hendrix releases what I think is the better album. Remember, there is no Jimmy album in 1969. In 1970, I love Band of Gypsies, but I don't think it's as good as the Layla album. See what I mean? And in 1969, you gotta give it to Jimmy Page for those first 2 Led Zeppelin records. I'm gonna do the Zeppelin videos soon. I just got to find a couple more CDs. So anyways, Eric Clapton, he has mouthed off to the press. He has said stupid things, even recently with his ideas about COVID and vaccinations and stuff. But I've always loved him. He was born on my birthday. I mentioned this in the Yardbirds video. He's exactly 20 years to the day older than I am. So, I kind of feel a kinship with him in that regard, both Aries. All right, so that's it for me and my last video of 2024 and my only British video in December. So see you in the next year with my next video. Signing off.